Thank you so much, everyone, for coming here today. My name is Tsungai, and I will be your delightful host for this afternoon as we teach you how to identify scams and protect your will and mula hitching chelete. I'm not here alone. I am joined by two handsome men. I may say so myself, since I've been loaded with all the praise by Rihanna earlier on in this session. So I am joined by Ntshiki Maluleka. And ladies and gentlemen, he is a former investigations and security operations manager from Telkom, South Africa, having worked there for almost a decade since 1998 to 2008. He managed major investigations as projects and represented Telkom as an expert witness in magistrate courts and the CCMA. He is now currently heading the SABRIC Center of Excellence since 2008, and he oversees training and capacity building to member banks, law enforcement agencies, and the National Prosecuting Authority. He has been invited to be a speaker at various webinars, conferences, and academia, as well as a guest lecture on various topics in the field of banking, organized crime, and cyber crime. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Ntshiki. Now, to help me do this amazing job, I also have Lyndwill Clarke, all right? And he's not a novice in this field, having been with the Financial Sector Conduct Authority for almost 2 decades. If anyone has seen every scam, shape, size, form, it is Lyndwill, okay? He's currently the head of department in the consumer education team at the FSCA. He also has extensive experience with the Western Cape Education Department. So ladies and gentlemen, my two experts this afternoon, Ntshiki and Lyndwill, welcome and thank you so much for gracing us with your time.
Thank you.
Now, without further ado, gentlemen, you know the topic is about scamming. If there isn't a scam in this second, I promise you there'll be a scam in the next second, all right? There will be someone looking to spend and use someone else's money. And I feel in the current economic environment, people are becoming more and more creative, okay? So, Ntshiki, please take us through what you've prepared for us, because even I, as the facilitator, as the host today, my ears are open, my eyes are wide open, because I also want to learn what's happening out there from a scam perspective. Over to you, Ntshiki.
Absolutely. No, definitely our ears should be wide open for what we are just about to share, the knowledge that will ensure that we keep our hard-earned cash and money is safe. So thank you for the good, kind introduction. And good afternoon to you, Lyndwill. And bear with me while I still share. I just want to share a few slides there we go. Please indicate with thumbs up if you can see the slides.
Oh, we've got such an interactive crowd. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. I just want to put it on presentation mode and we can kickstart. First, let me share. What is a SABRIC? SABRIC, it stands for South African Banking Risk Information Center. And how do we interact with the public out there? We are a non-profit organization mandated by the banking industry, whom are our member partners, to keep the public informed about latest scams, and also to ensure that we keep you abreast with fraudsters' activities, and to make sure that people do not end up being statistics. So we want to see people being proactive and being able to keep their money safe, hard-earned money. We are, of course, working together with our member banks and also law enforcement. We are collaborating with law enforcement and the National Prosecuting Authority in order to assist on bigger cases where we can pick up that definitely there is a syndicate or there is an element of organized crime. So we'll assist there and facilitate and support those kind of cases until all the way to prosecution. We're identifying the syndicate, identifying the significant role players, and making sure that we address those fraudsters. So our main mandate is to make sure that we combat banking crime, combating of financial crime, that is key critical, and also the general safety and security of the banking environment. So I will be focusing on some of the methods of operating that we have been seeing out there in terms of the digital banking crime, phishing, smishing, and the business email case study, some of the case studies that we share, so that we can bring a scenario kind of environment, and we will be able to interact, and even you're welcome to ask questions as well on those scenarios so that we can engage. Let's make it as engaging as possible. Money mules. We have seen quite a number of surging money mules that are surging because they are targeting our unemployed. And look at the unemployed statistics. When Statistic SA has just released stats that shows that there's alarming increases in terms of unemployed. So syndicates or fraudsters, they target the unemployed, saying that, no, you are welcome to borrow me your account. If you borrow me your account, you can get 50 bucks. And if you're unemployed, you'll be thinking, no, at least I'm getting something out of this. But be cautious, because you will be the one who will be arrested if you borrow your bank account to facilitate any kind of money laundering. Also, for the cyber landscape, we'll be looking at the cyber threats, including kidnapping as well, that we're seeing that is surging, card fraud, and also holiday scams, as we are heading to holidays now for our Easter period. So just to start with a bit of statistics, just to shock you, you can see those figures. Look at the associated gross losses that we've suffered in 2022 on digital banking. And taking consideration that these are increasing losses that we're seeing as we shift from doing our normal banking at the branches. You remember during COVID, we used to do our banking online. We shifted from doing the bank, going to inside the branches. So when we shifted online, that's where fraudsters also took opportunity and advantage of that scenario. Look at the figures. 219 million all the way, and increases to 363 million that we are seeing losses. And these are losses that are impacting the community at large. And these surges are associated with the attributes that are growing in number of banking applications as well, because we are doing our banking on the app, we're doing our banking online, we're doing our banking even via SMSs. So that's where they're taking advantage, where they are incorporating social engineering element to lure us into communicating with them and compromising our personal details, and we compromise our information. But it is significant to note that the conduit that they used to use, it's a SIM-swap, but it has lessened. So it shows that the element of social engineering is quite effective, where they are targeting us via other sources and harvesting our personal information in order to do their evil deeds. Looking at phishing, this is an example scenario, often a exact replica of a SARS SARS website, where they are including even other banks. And if you hover over the bank brand, over ABSA, over Standard Bank, you get other spoofed link, where it will link you to other fraudulent websites. The telltale size, it's now when we go to the address of the website, Look at that address there on the website. It is definitely not SARS. It is something that is purporting to be SARS. And now it is harvesting. It's designed in a way to harvest personal information and banking information in order to ensure that they utilize those banking information. Another telltale sign is when you don't see the lock at the bottom. The lock at the bottom signifies that it's safe to do your transaction or to conduct any communication with that website. So definitely this is a bogus website as it doesn't have that yellow lock. And these scams are pushed through via our emails. Look at this fraudulent example of an email where it definitely mandates the recipient to say, view your someone letter, click on this link. If you click on that link via email, it takes you to a spoofed website. Hence, we normally communicate and emphasize to the general public out there, say, do not click on any link that are sent via email, and your bank will never solicit any information, personal information from you via these types of communication. And we encourage you to also remember that you have to log on directly to the website. The website tab, your bank, and the address in terms of HTTPS on a secure web address. And looking at the phishing where it's combined with money laundering. As I've alluded to earlier on, that look at the money laundering utilizing the mule accounts. Because this is organized crime, and it shows that the criminal element, they are organized all the way from number 1 until step number 4. It's way organized, well coordinated, where they send this malicious software attachments or links that will purport to be from a bank or either from a trusted financial institution, where they will force people to link. If they do not click on any link, then that's where they will threaten, say, we're closing up your bank account. And people, probably they might be vulnerable and thinking that my account will be compromised, or probably my account will be closed. Let me insert my personal details. And that's where we compromise my personal details. And from the 5th element number all the way to the 7th number, it shows now the illicit transferring of those funds fictitiously from a victim's account all the way to the organization or organized crime syndicates. So this is the element where we assist law enforcement in how to pick up and how to build up evidence on this. And also, it is quite key critical to ensure that you know how to report this kind of crime. When you get to a police station, sometimes they will say, no, where did this crime scene happen? So that's where now, as a bank, we'll be able to assist you with pro forma statements and say, this is how you guide this case, and you'll be able to record that case so that it can be investigated quite effectively and to try and track the syndicates. Looking at business email compromise, where we see the examples in terms of where they're targeting the high end of the personnel. They might be targeting the chief financial officer, or they might be targeting the accountant by sending them those fictitious emails saying that, but we have changed our account to this account number. Please transfer the funds onto this account number. So it is quite important to make sure that you communicate with the person at the end, if they are communicating via email, in another method of communicating. If they are communicating via email, pick up the phone and just dial the person and say, did you send me an email? Are you changing your banking details? Where should I confirm that this is your banking details? So that to avoid that element where funds are transferred into a fraudulent account. And once they are transferred into a fraudulent account, gone is that money. It takes just a few seconds for these syndicates, as they are well organized. Once it hits their fraudulent account, they will start dispersing that money and transferring it all over, or conducting any fraudulent withdrawals. We see mostly on money markets, where it might be queuing, and they will ask other people, say, no, borrow me your ID. Let me use your ID to withdraw these funds. And at the end of the day, who will be in trouble? The person who borrowed the person an ID, because the details that will be recorded at the money market, it will be the details of that person who borrowed innocently, thinking that they are assisting on the queue, or probably they are assisting being good Samaritan. So the criminals are utilizing such kind of ways and utilizing the fake websites where they will be able to generate this kind of emails. This is an example of a post office generated email. If you hover over that email where it sends from, it can clearly show and indicate that definitely this is not post office, but it's Zen at kzamo.com. So it shows that definitely this is a fraudulent email, and it's urging a person to send their personal details, send their bank account. How often have we seen on the smishing element where we receive SMSs that claim that you have won a particular prize, but at the end, because we are having that element of greed as well, what do? We respond to this kind of SMS by following their guidelines, saying, please send me your account details. We do send that personal information, and they will be definitely hacking. And after hacking, they will be definitely deducting some funds on the bank account. So instead of depositing the wins that they would have claimed that person have won. And also, it is quite easy to create this kind of spoofed phishing emails, because these are dead fakes, anonymous emailers that are available on the deep web. On the deep web, you can get this kind of technology and even AI-driven tools where you will be able to create this kind of fraudulent or fictitious spoofed email, link them to fraudulent websites, and be able to harvest people's personal details and fraudulently use them in order to access their bank account. So we had a campaign here, but it's still an ongoing campaign, awareness campaign on money mules, where we publish this awareness, including all over the papers, social media platforms, for people to be aware that definitely it's a no-no to borrow a person, even it might be a trusted friend, even it might be that trusted neighbor. Rather advise them in order to say, open up your own account utilizing your personal details, unlike borrowing them your account, because you might be facilitating money laundering, and that identity can enter you into trouble, because we will find the personal details of the person who borrowed that account. So we created a huge awareness on the money laundering element, and also indicating that the mule accounts, it's definitely a no-no to borrow somebody else your account and bank account. Looking at the threats in terms of the ransomware threat landscape, we have seen the social engineering elements where it is utilizing the tools that we normally use. As we've shifted, we are doing our banking on Android, we are doing our banking online, we are doing our banking on iOS systems, and definitely looking at the JavaScripts that they will send as attachment, and utilizing this to fraudulently harvest more personal details. And these are some of the attachments that they normally send in order to harvest personal information and utilize that personal information. And it's easily available on the deep web. And we've seen now the growing element of AI tools, where it is sophisticated, and the sophisticated, you even think the example of that one that we utilize on the SARS, because they will take the environment saying that it's tax refund time. Please, you have deposited your refund on this account. And when you look at the website, it is quite exact replica. But until you scrutinize it into detail and look at the telltale sign, the yellow lock and the address on them. So those are the elements that we say, be cautious, take note of those, and do not fall prey Looking at the credit cards, as I've alluded earlier on, that we are significantly shifting on the online spaces. That's hence you see the card not present fraud being on the rise. Card not present fraud is still on the rise because of the element of we are doing our banking and the online spaces, on the application spaces. But however, we haven't seen any probably fraudulent hacking on the app itself. There is they're utilizing the social engineering element in order to dupe people to communicating and compromising their CVV numbers, which are at the back of their cards, and also their credit card details, saying that, no, this is a shopping website, you are shopping probably online, because we are shopping on those e-commerce sites. Once you insert your details, ensure that it's in a secure website, and as soon as you finish your shopping, cash out, delete your credit card details, delete your bank account details or debit card details, in order to ensure that the website doesn't harvest more additional, because you'll be seeing transaction going off, and at the same time you are not even online. So likely even the two-factor authentication and the notification. So make sure that you register with your bank account, you register your cell number so that you can get notifications as soon as there's something that is untoward happening on your bank account. This is a scenario of a case where we have seen it happen, card fraud scheming happening at the ATM. I just want to play the video and we'll go through the video. The lady is busy conducting a transaction at the ATM. The fraudster approaches, confusing it. You remember, we normally communicate, never allow anybody to assist you, even there from the bank. Look, he took out something out of his pocket and he's scamming this lady's card. Now, as soon as after skimming, that's a handheld skimming device, he slots it back inside the ATM so that she can be confused further. Then now he's doing the over-shoulder surfing, where he recorded also her PIN code. And did you see how long it takes? It takes quite few seconds. And he's gone with the card details and also a PIN code. And after that, she just saw untoward transactions happening on her card. And luckily, on this case, we're able to act on that, and we're able to secure that, and we're able to pick up the suspect with the ATM, the handheld skimming device. Another one, just take note of the suspect's dress. Their T-shirt is what is written on the T-shirt. There's an innocent person who's transacting. There's a suspect coming in, pretending as though he's helping, assisting, entering the personal space. But you see, the victim allows the person to enter the victim space. Look at his hand, slots in the pocket. There is a card. Card is gone. So he stole the card. And now he did a shoulder surfing. He indicates to his co-conspirator that everything is sharp. Then off they go. They're going to transact with that card. They stole the card and they have the card details. Sometimes at the ATMs, they change even the settings. They change the language so that it can confuse poor victims, and they will be able to enter. So never allow anybody to come into your personal space while you're transacting at the ATM. And also, this is another example of a ATM-mounted skimming devices. We can see the suspect coming in, pretending as though they are busy with the transaction. And now coast is clear, they're taking out, it's an ATM-mounted skimming device where they're going to paste it on the ATM. and it will be in sync with where we slot our cards, and also mount a camera where it will be looking at the pin pad overlay and copying at the same time, recording the pin codes, and they will be able to later on in the day, the suspects come back, pretend as though they're busy with the transaction, and they remove their ATM mounted device. And you notice that it happened the whole day because they pasted that device then about in the morning. Now it's late in the afternoon, they are taking their proceeds. They have recorded how many cards, how many people, if it's a busy mall like Mall of Africa, how many cards they could have harvested. And they're going to just to download that information on the computer and start shopping online. So they've got carte blanche on that. So we normally communicate, say, do not transact at an ATM where you see there are loose objects on the ATM. Do not transact on shady ATMs where they are sitting by themselves in the corner somewhere in the mall. So make sure that there is security out there and there is visibility and there's people who are movement around in order to also avoid things like kidnappings as well, because they can target people while they're transacting at the ATM, kidnap you in order to empty your account and make sure that they take out all the money utilizing your PIN codes. So it is key critical to make sure that you transact at a visible, well-lit ATMs and even environment where it's busy, but never allow any assistance from just people who are loitering. Some are even utilizing, probably putting on clothing that are branded as in a bank's logos, so that you might think that it is a person who's assisting or they might be from the bank. So do not trust easily. Make sure that you go inside the bank if should you need any assistance at the ATM, especially with deposits. We have seen mostly with deposits where people are falling prey and falling a victim for this kind of ATM element. And so always make sure that you cover your PIN. That is the message that we have to preach out there, and it's a hashtag, our hashtag on social media. Always cover your PIN when you're transacting. Even though when you're tapping your card at the ATM, always make sure that you are covering your PIN. Or at the retail stores when you're withdrawing, or any filling station, always cover your PIN. You're more than welcome to follow us on our social media platform on X, we're at SABRIC, and even on Instagram and Facebook, where we'll be able to share more of the method of operating that we've seen in the environment, and we'll be able to give you all the telltale signs. And you're more than welcome to also engage with us on that, with your experiences as well, that we have noticed in your probably experience within the environment or within the communities that you might be from. I thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Ntshiki, if you saw my reaction, I'm just like, oh my goodness, is this happening? I'm even so glad and so thankful that every payday I can still have my full paycheck, because with these kind of things happening, no one is safe. But thank you so much for educating us, for informing us how we too can be better prepared in terms of identifying scams, but most importantly, knowing how to navigate so that we do not become statistics, or we do not become the people that fall prey to these kind of scams. I know you did tell us that you might need to bounce, so thank you so much, Ntshiki. Please feel free to lead if you have to. Over to you,
Thank you. Much
Lyndwill.
appreciated for this opportunity.
Thank you, thank you. So, Lyndwill, Ntshiki set such a high president here, okay? Showing us how these scammers are doing it out there, especially from a banking perspective. So maybe let me start off by asking you, What is the most ridiculous scamming story in your 20-year history that you've come across?
Hi, good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks, Tsungai. And Ntshiki, you can't leave me now. You got to stick around after you've delivered such a great presentation. And I think before I get to the ridiculous scams, I think what's important for me from my side, first of all, is just to tell you a little bit about the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. So the Conduct Authority is the market conduct regulator in South Africa. So that basically means that everybody that sells you a financial product or a service needs to be authorized or registered or licensed by the FSCA. So this is in terms of the Financial Sector Regulatory Act, which was established, which was enacted on the 1st of April 2018. And basically what we do is we are mandated to ensure that financial customers are treated fairly. We are mandated to ensure that the financial markets operate with efficiency and integrity. But I think importantly for this conversation today is that we are responsible for providing financial education programs and promoting financial literacy. And I think that is probably where the big challenge comes in with scams and frauds. When you introduced us, you said I had about almost 20 years at the FSCA, but I've also had about 30 years in education. And sometimes I like to refer to myself as an educator by trade. A teacher by trade, but an educator by profession. So, and I think this is the missing link is where people actually get scammed. And it actually comes to a point where people don't know what they don't know. And they actually, like Ntshiki was saying, when you click on that button, you didn't think before you click because there's a few factors, obviously from a social point of view. And I think that's where I'm also like to start is we're sitting in such a dire economic situation in South Africa. So everybody is looking for a way to get rich quick. And you don't always think about what are the consequences of me clicking here or agreeing to a certain proposition or a certain proposal that people are giving to me. So that's the first thing. I think the most ridiculous scam I think I've actually come across was more recently was we just went through Valentine's Day, and well, let's call it Valentine's month, and there was a lady that was scammed of over 100 million, or sorry, R1 million, because she fell victim to a fraudster that were romanticizing her over the internet, obviously. And then eventually, after the romantic interchanges, he asked for money. And I think, what happens is they start off with, I need 1,000 rand to come visit you. And then you send them the money for the plane ticket. And then they say, well, look, I'm so sorry, I can't make it, at this time, maybe next time. And so the amounts increase over the period of time. And I think, we are human beings. We want to be loved, but sometimes it's just to take that extra step. Ntshiki has mentioned a lot of scams. I think I didn't prepare a PowerPoint because I've got a hidden agenda here. I would like to drive people to our website. And one of my colleagues is in the audience. I'm going to ask Alicia just to put in the chat, just to put our URL for our website, where all of this information is available. We got things like, you spoke about phishing. We got vishing, we got smishing, and even wishing. And wishing is where you click on those WhatsApp links. Vishing is where you think that you're speaking to a government official, or you think you're speaking to your bank. And this is where, when Ntshiki spoke about artificial intelligence, people can actually, and we all have, I've got my camera on, but you don't know whether that's an AI. Somebody might have created my image and actually put it out there, and you think that you're speaking to a real person. And I think a lot of these scams comes about where we are firstly uninformed. We don't really understand what we are dealing with, but we would like to get involved. There's the travel fraud. Travel scams. I've got friends that actually booked through what they thought was booking.com. And then they go on the holiday and they arrive in Durban and there's an empty plot of land. So colleagues and people on the line, I think your first thing is for you to do the due diligence. You need to make sure that you are actually dealing with a person that you're actually dealing with. And the kind of scams I'd like to talk about, I mean, these ones that Ntshiki was mentioning, is scams that are out there in the open. It's at at ATMs. It's people stealing your credit cards. I want to talk about those scams that you don't really realize are scams, and especially from an investment point of view, because we deal with financial services providers, and those financial services providers must be authorized by the FSCA to sell you a specific product or a specific service. And if they don't have a license, it comes with a piece of paper, which, by the way, can also be falsified, which means you must be very careful, which comes with a specific service. And if you are not authorized to sell that product, then obviously you need to do your due diligence from your point of view. You need to ask the questions. You need to look for documentation. Okay, and those are just a few things that I'll explore as we go along. But I'd like also for our listeners to maybe just start thinking about instances where maybe they were scammed as well, and maybe if Ntshiki is still on the line and myself, we could also engage with them on those and how to identify these things, which are quite important.
So thank you so much, Lyndwill. You know, when you were explaining, you know, some of those scams that are happening out there, it actually reminded me when I was in varsity many moons ago. Okay, it was in 2010. Some of these scams are actually around events. You mentioned Valentine. They come around specific events, specific calendar times. So in 2010, guess what? Okay, I received this SMS that I had won 10,000 Rand. Being a student at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, have the heavens opened or what? And you know what they said to me? Send us 3,000 Rand so that you can unlock your 10,000 prize. And being very naive, being oblivious, I remember calling my mom and saying, oh my gosh, I won. And she's like, did you enter any competition? I'm like, no.
Yeah. First
She's
question.
Like, can't they take the 3,000 from the money you are winning? Why is it that you have to pay them to unlock it? They must take from that. But you know, she asked such good questions. And I think, like you clearly indicated earlier, part of that due diligence should be asking the right questions, not only to yourself, because now you're emotionally attached. You're winning money that you didn't enter any competition for. You're feeling like the luckiest person. Now
exactly.
that now the psychology of money starts to come in. So how do we as consumers protect ourselves from ourselves, especially when they make you trigger happy in the instance, for example, I've mentioned?
Yeah, no, I think that's quite important. That trigger happy because, and I mentioned the economic situation. I'm sure you've heard of job scams where people pose as a contractor that provides jobs, but you have to pay upfront first. You know, and I think with any kind of scam, that for me is the first red flag. The moment you have to pay to receive, then you need to be worried. Okay, it's a red flag that goes off. And then secondly, when it comes to job scams, they're very vague about the description of the job. Okay, they might have online interviews and they use Yahoo or instant messengers. Those kind of vague platforms which are not formal websites from their employer or employer. So you know, that is kind of things where you need to say to yourself, okay, let me first think twice, and then I will first find out. Okay, you say you're from company X. I do my own research on the side, and then I go further on that. More recently, just to bring back the conversation about financial services providers, more recently, we've put out a lot of warning signs about financial services providers that pretend to be legal financial services providers. So what they do is they create, say, for instance, a Sanlam website. A Sanlam website, it looks like Sanlam, it looks like Old Mutual, it looks like Capitec, it looks like Absa. You then unwittingly, you go and you click on and you find that there is an investment opportunity. You then go through the whole motions, you put in all your details, etc., etc. But if you go a little bit further, if you go on your Absa, your legal Absa website, for instance, or your Capitec, there's depth in the website, which means there are more pages that you can actually scroll through. There are additional pages where you can get more information. With these illegal websites, there are no additional. You just go from the front page, you go to the next page, which is where you have to enter your details. And then you have a place where you must enter your banking details. Banking details as well as do a payment. remember, colleagues and friends and those who are tuned in, banks will never ask you for that details online. It is something that you need to go to the bank to and need to fill in for that. Okay, so I think for us, it's important that you only deal with authorized financial services providers. The other kinds of fraudulent areas, especially in the financial sector, that we notice is Ponzi schemes. Now, a Ponzi scheme is something that you experience when you pay out your investor. So say, for instance, Tsungai has invested 1,000 Rand. Lyndwill comes next, and Lyndwill says, I also want to invest. And they tell Lyndwill, but listen, if you put in 2,000 Rand, I can actually get that money back for you within a week's time. Then they take the money that Tsungai and Ntshiki has invested, and they pay Lyndwill out. So Lyndwill thinks that now my money's been doubled in a week. I need to put more money in this scheme, and that's what's called a Ponzi scheme, when they use one investor's money to pay the other. There is no growth. There is no actual financial product that's being sold. And you've seen, if you Google Bernie Madoff, you'll see he ran probably the biggest Ponzi scheme ever. And these are the international ones. But even locally, on a smaller scale, we've seen that smaller operators, they start a Ponzi scheme, and once they've gotten enough money, they leave and they disappear. There were two gentlemen that are under investigation. It was in newspapers in KZN, and they also the money just gone. Okay, and then you'll see 2 or 3 weeks later, they pop up again, but maybe under another name. So once again, it's for us to be vigilant, for us to go out there and say, listen, let me make sure that these are the guys that I'm actually dealing with in terms of my financials. Remember, we work very hard for our money, and I don't want to just give away my money. And I always say, if you've been scammed, you actually gave your money away. And I shouldn't say this, but you have more luck in the casino to get some money, or the lotto. At least, these are establishments that are there. You lose it in any case, but you're actually playing the lotto if you deal with unauthorized financial services providers.
Lyndwill, my heart is cracking right now. When you told me about that woman who lost 1 million Rand, I'm just like, oh my goodness. But coming back to financial services, how does the layman on the street verify that this is indeed a registered financial services provider or a licensed representative?
Yeah, so there's various ways. So I think it's quite important that you, first of all, you ask for the documentation. So first things, are you authorized by the FSCA to sell this product? And I think normally that is where the first line of defense is, because normally there is no product. So they need to give you the product in which category, because there's various categories of products. They need to tell you, okay, this is the investment product. They need to tell you how it works. They need to do their due diligence, especially to see whether you can actually afford this product. Now, sometimes you see no credit record required, no this required, no that required. Come to us, you can invest. Now, those are also warning signals. You need to make sure, first of all, that there's documentation, that you know that this company is authorized by the FSCA, right? You can then actually call the FSCA on our toll-free number. And again, in the chat line, Alicia will put the toll-free number for you. And you can call the FSCA and then ask them, listen, if the documents, once you've gone through the documents and you still suspect, but this might be fraudulent, let me phone the FSCA. We've got a number. They will then actually be able to tell you whether this person is actually authorized or not. And all the warning press releases that have gone out was of impersonations, where people actually invested in certain scams or with certain financial services providers, but they were not authorized by the FSCA. But those people did not phone or go to our website. On our website, if you have access to the web, you can actually go onto the website. There's a section that says customer service. You click on it and you will enter the names, or you can enter the FSP number. So the one company we caught out was they had used the financial service provider's number, another company's, and put their own name onto it. So when the consumer typed in the number, another name came up, and they could see, but this is not this company. This is not Sanlam or Old Mutual or Capitec. This is somebody else. So what they do is they use that, and then obviously you get scammed into that. So that's another way of finding out. The third point is when you look at the documentation, and I think Ntshiki alluded to it, when you look at the email addresses, sometimes it's funny. Okay, it's not your usual email address. So you can pick up. You can also pick up on the language of the documentation. Especially if they send you emails, you'll find that the language, English is not really my first language, but I at least know when there must be a was and a were and a is and a I. So most of us are second language speakers. So sometimes we don't catch that, but also ask a friend, ask a close friend, or if you really doubt it, go to an authorized financial services provider, because go to your bank. I mean, I think that's probably the best thing to do, is to go to your bank, go inside your bank and say, can I speak to an advisor? I've received this from you as a bank. Did you send me this? Now, it's very important that you actually take that steps before you lose. Even if you lose 2,000 or 1,000 or 500 Rand, it's still money that you've lost. And I think that's the important part, that you make sure before you hand over your money in whatever form, that you go there and you find out who can actually sell you that financial product.
Very, very valuable tips that you're sharing with us, Lyndwill. And ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to use our chat line. I can see some great comments in here. I'm not too sure if you actually know how to answer this one, Lyndwill, and probably Ntshiki would have been better. But Common asks, I saw today that if you have an FNB or Capitec account, you can make 120,000 in 2 days.
Wow.
Talk to me. When people tell you can make so much in terms of return in a short space of time, is that possible?
Please tell me. Where do I get that money? What's that movie where they said, show me the money? So I think within 2 days, the average growth rate, and remember South Africa is going through an economic slump as well. So your investment growth rate is probably between, I would say, 2 and 6%. And as I would even go say maximum 6. Our inflation rate is around 6. Okay. So I would say if anybody offers you anything over 20%, for instance, or even 15%, be very, very wary, be very skeptical, because there is just no way financially, legally practical, not unless you play the lotto today and of course your numbers come in tomorrow. Okay. But I think that you need to be very, very vigilant, because the offers that are being made is a pressure tactic. So what they say is, listen, this offer only lasts for the day. If you put in your money today, you might get your money, or you will get your money in 2 days' time. So it's but by tomorrow that offer will be gone. So it's a pressure, you feel pressurized. And I saw in the chat line, somebody spoke about being desperate for love, being desperate for money, being desperate for a job. And I get that. And I understand, because we're sitting in this economic situation. But, sometimes if you can be very desperate, but you can also be very careful. Instead of being too desperate, you can say to yourself, wait, let me stand back. And it's always that stand back that will actually save you the money. Because at the end of the day, you will then know, I've taken all the necessary steps. I've taken all the precautions. And I'm now absolutely solidly sure that when I invest, this is what I'm going to get my returns. We've lost in investment during COVID. A lot of our investments have lost traction. Some people even lost money, and we know some people even lost their jobs. But the markets will be busy recovering. And I think, again, you need to speak to an authorized financial services advisor, somebody that can give you the real deal. Okay. I also saw in the chat line, if it seems too good to be true, I mean, we all know that it probably is too good to be true, because going from 100 Rand today to 5,000 Rand tomorrow even is quite a big step. So anybody that doubles your money or increases your money within 2 days, I would put my head on a block and say, if you're not from the lotto, if you've not been to a casino, you probably won't get that returns within those 2 days.
So brilliant, Lyndwill. And I always say, you know what? If you look at if you look at money, you've got coins in your wallet and you've got notes in your wallet. It's always the coins that make the most noise. Those people that actually want to make these quick rich schemes will make the most noise in the shortest period of time,
Yep.
and then poof, they're gone like powder in the next second. One other important thing that I actually wanted to highlight, Lyndwill, and I've got a fantastic client I love. I love her, I love her, I love her, because she seems to come across a lot of these schemes. But the good thing she does is she gets in touch with the professional like myself. I'm a certified financial planner, and she uses me as a sounding board. So remember, if you're already desperate for money, desperate for a job, desperate for love, etc., your emotions will come into play in terms of your decision making. But if you've got someone who becomes your accountability partner, who
Yes,
just helps you be a
definitely.
sounding board before you jump in, it will help you save that hard-earned money.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, Lyndwill, how are social media platforms and AI being used to dupe people?
Ish. Maybe before I start there, let me come back to your previous question, your previous point about having that sounding board. You know, sometimes we just go to anybody for advice. You know, a recent survey has shown that people go to their priests, their minister, they go to sangomas, they go to everybody but a financial advisor. And I always use the example: if you're sick, you go to a doctor. Okay, you go to somebody that's been studying medicine for a while, right? But if you want some legal advice, you go to a lawyer, somebody that's been studying for a while in the legal profession. Or even from a medicine point of view, you can go to a herbalist because people know exactly what they're talking about. But if you are wanting financial advice, we still tend to go to, my friend next door, or I go to, my uncle. He is very rich. He made lots of money. And we don't want to go to the professionals. And I can't stress this more, that you need to go to the professionals. And Tsungai, you're right. From your experience, using that as a sounding board is very, very, very important. And before I come to social media, I missed out on one more thing that you need to check quite regularly. And this is your bank statement. And I want to ask everybody out there, I mean, maybe you can just by a show of hands, who of you regularly checks your bank statement? Whom of you actually goes out and you say, listen, every month I want to see what happened to my bank statement? I see 2-3 hands. Okay. Now you, Rihanna, I see you also putting up your hand there. So it is quite important that you actually check, because sometimes, and we've got within our payment systems, we've got some new methods of checking where the money goes off. We got people that do debit orders and they take it off your account. Okay, so be very careful. And it helps with budgeting as well. Every month you look at your input, your income, and you look at your expenses, and you can actually draw a budget off from your statement and actually make sure that I'm actually okay, or I need to cut down on my takeaways a little bit, or on going out a little bit. Okay, so let's come back to social media. And again, I think Ntshiki has outlined all the different, the vishings, the phishings, the smishings, the emails that you shouldn't click on, your WhatsApp. But it seems, and during COVID, social media became our go-to place. It was our place for information, right? And it seems that has just grown. They say that TikTok is now becoming the #1 consumer education or financial education platform in the world. And it's growing every day, right? But you and I, we can actually make our own TikTok videos, okay? And it seems that TikTok and Facebook and all social media platforms have become the new truth. And we don't do our due diligence still. Coming back to doing your due diligence, finding out, this guy on TikTok said I can double my money. Let me first go check him out. Don't take it as the truth. Don't click on anything that's on there, because you click and then you don't check your monthly banking statement, and then you see it 3 months later, you see, but hey, there's 1,000 rand coming off my bank account every month. And just because you clicked, whether you liked or whether you didn't like, or whatever the click might be, that is the cause of your income being deducted. Social media can be, and I believe is one of the mediums that can provide us with a lot of financial education and information. It is just how you act on it, right? So when it comes from the FSCA, remember the FSCA, we don't ask for anything. We don't even ask, we don't sell products. We are unbiased. We provide you with information that is there. It comes from our legal departments. It's getting vetted. But sometimes some of the institutions or illegal institutions, they provide you with information that is not sound. And there is where you need to use your own discretion. Am I going to believe my social media because all my friends are saying, yeah, you know, we got money? Because inevitably, and this is what we've actually found, those that are saying on social media, I've just got a 2,000 Rand investment on my 500 Rand. I just got 10,000 Rand back. Those are the people that are actually part of the scam. Those are the people that are part of the scam. So what they do is it's almost like, what do we call it? They testify. We call it testifying. During pyramid schemes, we call it testifying. So you have a pyramid scheme party, and you say, you know, somebody stands up, when I joined this party, I started this investment scheme, I invested 500 Rand. Now I'm on top of the pyramid and I'm earning 6,000, 7,000 Rand a month. Now that person is testifying, but that person is part of the scam. So, and I don't know, I mean, I think our time is also running out. If you see these guys playing in the street with the cards, right? And somebody comes, you find the queen or find the ace, okay? And then they say, you know, somebody comes along, they put on 100 Rand. And all of a sudden, this person finds the ace. And they double his money, they give his money. Then you try and find the ace, but you can't find the ace.
Because you're not part of the scheme.
You are not part of the scheme, okay? So yeah, social media, while it can be very beneficial and advantageous, we just need to be careful how we use it. Because we also there's more and more platforms, especially digital platforms, not just the social media side. I'm talking about financial platforms that maybe sell crypto assets or sell Forex. Because crypto, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners and those that are tuned in want to buy Bitcoin. Okay, you want to get involved in crypto assets. Okay, be very careful. Crypto assets have now become has been declared a financial product by the FSCA, and we're in the process of issuing licenses to those people that are applying, right? Up to date, I think at our last conference last week, we have licensed 59 financial services providers to actually sell crypto assets. We cannot regulate the actual crypto assets, so we don't regulate Bitcoin. But what we do regulate is the person or company that sells you the Bitcoin. So they need to be open and honest and transparent and follow all the phase rules in terms of selling your financial product. So yeah, to answer your question for social media, good and bad, but bad if you don't do your due diligence.
So just a quick one, Lyndwill, and I just want to piggyback off two questions actually in the chat. So the first person asked, how can I actually verify that a financial advisor is legitimate? And I know you spoke about it earlier. You can go into the FSCA website. There's a section there where you can validate either the financial services provider by putting in an FSP number,
yes,
or you can also validate a financial advisor by putting their last name in there, and will tell you exactly which company they are, what license they're under, etc. Now,
definitely.
For Forex and EFT, I think it was supposed to be exchange ETF traders. Are they registered? Where can someone actually verify if this person who shows up on social media with a Maserati or a Maybach or a Rolls Royce is actually registered? Please address that one for us.
Yeah, so I think it's the same process, and I think just to come back to the FSPs, and we are, I mean, this program this webinar is brought to you by the FPI through Global Money Week, and the Financial Planning Institute also has financial advisors registered on their books. So you could also contact them, and you could check with them, are these people actually members? And obviously, if they're not members, then they obviously can go through the FSCA. Look, the traders follow the same process. Your Forex traders is also regulated. You can also check with the JSC. JSE, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, because they got a database of all traders that they have as well. So you can check with them as well. The crypto assets one is a bit more difficult, since I said we only registered 59 of them at the moment. Okay. So that one you can also check with the FSCA in terms of whether they are actually authorized to sell you those products. But be wary of the Lamborghinis and the Maseratis. You know, I can go and rent a Maserati at one of the shops for about 2,000 Rand a day, or 5,000, or whatever the case may be a day. But the return I get from scamming people is much more than that amount. Okay. So just be very careful of, and again, testifying, people flashing around, people showing you money. Okay. I mean, these things, you don't even know if it's real money. It could be fake money. So please be very careful. I think this is quite important, because at the end of the day, you think that these people are true, but at the end of the day, they just want your money. That's all they want to do.
You're not going to enjoy your money? Please give it to your children, your parents, even your grandparents, but do not give it to scammers. Baran has his hand up. Please unmute and feel free to ask Lyndwill your question, sir. Okay, Baran, are you there? Okay, while he's waiting to sort himself out. So one of the things I actually wanted to just ask Lyndwill, we talked about people using social media platforms such as TikTok, all right? But I also came across an ad earlier this year of someone who purported to be Elon Musk telling us how we could make so much money because he had opened this fantastic opportunity. And you know what? What threw me off was the voice, the face, everything looked legit except the numbers. So I'm a numbers girl, and if you come to me, you better come with legitimate numbers, because I'm going to tear down that whole thing and make sure that it actually makes sense. And so the only thing I couldn't verify there was the numbers. They didn't make sense, but everything else fooled me, Lyndwill.
Looks the same.
How do we stop being deceived by scams of that nature? Because obviously they're using AI. So how do we pick out if it's legit or not?
I think you probably mentioned one or two already. It looked like Elon Musk, but it didn't sound like Elon Musk. The numbers didn't add up, you know. And again, this is coming back to what I said earlier on. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. I mean, you think that you're looking at me, but I could be generating myself. I could be sitting in Cape Town and just, you know, generating an image for you to listen to me. And I think this is quite important, because with the developments in AI, and especially on the digital platforms nowadays, sometimes these artificial intelligence, or the algorithms that's being written, is written in a specific way to actually entice you to get on and to buy a financial product. Now, I know that the marketing part of legitimate financial services providers, they can do that, okay, because they do it within the legal framework. You go on, there's a few questions that's asked, and based on the questions that, or the answers that you give, they obviously respond from the artificial intelligence, but there's a database, obviously, and an algorithm written to respond in that effect. But when it comes to things that you've just mentioned, where you actually can see, I mean, it looks like Lyndwill, it looks like Tsungai, but you know, Lyndwill, he speaks in a funny accent. I mean, I thought he's an American or he's a South African, but he speaks more like somebody coming from China, or somebody coming from Nigeria, or somebody coming from Ethiopia, or somebody coming from the US. Your language is not the same. Then you go further, because now, obviously, on screen, the numbers or the websites will appear. And that's when you now further check and you say, but okay, let me go see where this guy is talking from, or what his website saying. We've got Tsungai, you know, Chat GPT, and you know, you've got these new AI platforms and apps that can write an essay for you, you know. But you must be careful, because sometimes they write that essay for you and you see that there's no real structure within there's no train of thought or flow in the document. The same with AI. You know, if you can really, the person starts speaking, even if it sounds like Lyndwill, you listen to what the person is saying. And those are the little telltale signs that will tell you, okay, this is where you need to stop. You need to really be careful because somebody's trying to fool you.
Brilliant, brilliant, Lyndwill. I see Sharon has her hand up. Sharon, would you like to unmute yourself and ask? Sharon, are you still there?
Yeah, we might have a problem with the unmuting because I think Baden couldn't unmute himself as well.
Okay, all right. So
maybe
guys,
they
if
can
you
put the
can't
question in the
unmute,
chat.
put it in the chat, please. By all means. By all means. So this is, I think, a very, very important conversation we're having. There is another question that's come in the chat. How do we prevent credit card or debit card cloning? I saw it recently on a video. A woman's card was cloned as she paid over the till. Talk about inside jobs.
Yeah. So my technology knowledge doesn't stretch that far. I think again, and I think Ntshiki would have been able to answer this because that's basically identity fraud. It's basically where they take your card and use it as you were using. I think one of the big things is obviously when you start getting notifications on your phone or wherever that your card is being used. And that is when you need to stop it immediately. I think because that's quite an important part because sometimes we don't look and we just as human beings we look his money went off. Okay, it's probably an old debit order from the beginning of the month that's going off now. But in meanwhile, somebody has cloned your card and is using your card. I don't exactly know how the technology works about the cloning. I must admit that, but I can say that we need to be very diligent and vigilant, especially when we look at the notifications that are coming through that is being used on our card. Because and especially just after you've been somewhere, and if you suspect that has happened, that you actually just cancel your card immediately. Even if sometimes I lost my card in my house one day. I knew it was in the house, but I just stopped my card altogether because I knew if I don't have it, on my person, then I get all panicky about these things.
So what happens, Lyndwill? Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't attend this amazing presentation. So I'm still dwas. I still get caught up. I'm still naive. And I actually get scammed 24 hours after this section. Okay. What's the process for those people that have been scammed? Is there any recourse? What should they do if they find out that they've actually been scammed?
Yeah. I think your first point of call is obviously your bank. So when you find that the money has gone off your bank account, I think the first point of call is to speak to your bank, right? You need to speak to your bank to find out how much money is gone. Can you stop it immediately? Okay. You need to, because remember, in most cases, if money is taken off your bank account, the first thing the bank manager asks, or the person at the bank, have you got your card on you? Have you given out your PIN to anyone? Have you given your card to anyone? Where last did you swipe your card? So these are the kinds of questions you must be able to answer because they will do their own internal investigations. And if they find, and this is the unfortunate part, most banks will replace your money if their security systems were at fault. Okay, they will do an investigation, and if they find that their security was inadequate and that you were not protected, they will replace your money. However, in most cases, I think when you do find that you have been scammed, but you've given your card to a friend to go draw money for you, just because it's my friend and I trust my friend, and you've given your PIN number away, okay, then banks won't be that forthcoming. They'll first investigate properly what was the circumstances, etc. But in most cases, if you were the one that actually, and I almost want to say voluntarily gave your card or your money away, you were scammed because you clicked the button. Okay, you were scammed because you didn't do your proper research. And in those cases, it's very difficult to get your money back. From our side, also, when it comes to investments, and especially with pyramid schemes, and Ponzi schemes, we only hear about it after the fact. And sometimes I tend to say, some people are a little bit greedy because their eyes light up when they see I can get the returns. I can get 20% return on my investment. So your eyes light up, and but the back of your brain there's a warning there, but you don't listen to it. Okay. So I think it's important that you be forewarned. And still, we've had people that went into pyramid schemes that said, but we knew it was a pyramid scheme, but we got out just before it fell flat. You see, and that is the sad truth about our current situation, is that people need money, and people will. And by the way, even if you're not the instigator of the scheme, even if you just take part in a scheme, in a pyramid scheme, it's still illegal. You can still be caught and you can still be taken to jail. Okay, so you can still be prosecuted. So it doesn't mean that, look, I wasn't part, I didn't know it was, it's just like I didn't know. They say our jails are full of people that are not guilty. So we need to actually be so vigilant and say, I know it's a pyramid scheme. I'm going to stay away. But like I said, some people really, they know it's a pyramid scheme. They just wait for the right time to get out with the amount of money, obviously, which is quite sad.
Sure. What an insightful conversation, Lyndwill. I know I've definitely been educated, I've been elevated, and I will never be the same again. Thank you so, so much, Lyndwill. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. And to everyone who is here, each one take one. Even if you go and teach someone one thing you've learned today, we will all become better collectively and hopefully save the hard-earned money from actually being stolen. I hear someone asking, is Bitcoin a scam? Lyndwill, what are your thoughts? It's such a offside question, but since they asked it right in time, I'll give it to them.
No, but Bitcoin is not a scam. Remember, Bitcoin is a type of crypto asset. So you get Bitcoin, you get things like Ethereum, and there's various types of coins, and it's run through an algorithm. But remember that Bitcoin is not like a normal investment. Bitcoin is not, it's not attached to some value, right? So Bitcoin, it depends on the person. It's a human driven investment. And you will see that even on the radio, remember in the mornings or just before news and after news, they normally give you the rand dollar value, the rand pound value, etc. But now I see some of the radio stations also carry the Bitcoin value. Okay, they tell you what's the value of one Bitcoin. Okay, I can't remember what it is offhand now, but it's not a scam, but it is a crypto asset. And the crypto assets have now been declared financial products. Okay, so no, it's not a scam. However, be very careful who you buy your Bitcoin from. More recently, we saw the biggest scam of Bitcoin, of crypto assets, where the initiator actually walked off with all the money, and people couldn't get their money out. I've also heard a story of somebody passing away, and they didn't leave their password and their username to access the Bitcoin, which means that money is gone. So there are various things that one needs to look out when you get into crypto assets. And please make sure that you actually go onto our website and find out more about where you can. I think the only, like the JSE, the only trading platform in not just Bitcoin, in crypto assets is Luna. So the JSE is for your normal investment products. And then Luna also, and you can also speak to them, and you can speak to any other financial advisor in terms of how do these Bitcoin, how does it work? Okay. But before you invest in anything, please ask. I think that's quite important.
Awesome. Awesome. I see there was also a comment from Sharon. She eventually shared her situation where her husband passed away. She reached out to a lawyer, found one from Google by Googling lawyers nearby me, paid the guy, gave him all the documentations, but he started ignoring her, claiming that it takes a long time. And I want to thank Nikki for having actually put in a response there that she can actually, or you can actually verify that lawyers are registered with the Legal Practice Council. Unfortunately, there are some people that will always pretend to be the actual professionals. So I think with every profession, they do have a professional governing body. So if it's lawyers, verify that these people are actually part of the professional legal professional body. If it's medical practitioners, do the same thing. And I think it's a culture thing. We have not been indoctrinated enough to ask people if they're qualified and competent enough to actually help us with these things. We tend to assume, we're afraid of actually verifying or validating if the people we're actually dealing with are true professionals. But at the end of the day, it is your hard-earned money. If you're not going to enjoy it, please, like I said, give it to your children, give it to your in-laws, give it to your grandparents, but do not give the scammers a chance. So Salim says financial education is key. Learn about money, learn about financial products, approach finances like driving a car. You just don't get on the road and drive. Same thing with your money. You need to actually become competent, qualified to make some of the financial decisions out there. And I always say, even if you're not qualified or competent, get the professional. Don't be afraid to spend that hard-earned cash on the people that can make you multiply the money even better. But please don't give it to illegitimate solicitors who are out to make a quick buck. All right. I don't see any other questions, Lyndwill. So it looks like you've done a great job. I think you've done a great job. So let me just hear from the audience. If Lyndwill did an amazing job, please give him some love. I know you're an interactive group. Let's see. No hearts, guys. And then there we go.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much,
being here. And I think just as a lot to it, I think Salim actually summed up the part about, financial education is key. We need to get informed. We need to get the information in order for us to make informed financial decisions. And not just informed, because we need to make good financial decisions. We need to move away from that, impulse buys where you walk through the shop and all of a sudden you think that, oh, this is a nice jeans and I buy it on credit. And in 6 months' time, the jeans is out of fashion and you're still wearing the same jeans, but you're still paying it off as well. And I think that's it's little things in life that can make it easier for you, actually. And I think my final word, which we always say, is just spend less than what you earn, and you actually get ahead quite quickly, because I think we've become a credit nation as well, and that we really want to live the way and live above our means. And if you do that, and that is the time when you start thinking about, hey man, maybe this prospect don't look so bad. I can double my money in 2 months. So yeah, be careful, stay well, and just don't only deal with authorized financial services providers.
Fantastic. So this is it, ladies and gentlemen. It's been fantastic, but like every great flight, you have to land at some point in time, and this is our soft landing. My name is Tsungai Masendeke, a certified financial planner affiliated with the Financial Planning Institute. It's been fantastic being with you. Please do take care, protect your hard-earned money, and hopefully you can take us for lunch because we helped you greatly today. Take care and God bless. Bye.
Bye, everyone.